Hi there, and welcome to our NHVR Solutions webinar for release 9.9.0 on the 22nd of September at 10 a.m. Firstly, we're just going to run through the agenda. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us and for watching this webinar. We're going to run through a little bit of housekeeping, then we'll move into our highlighted new features in this month's release 9.9.0. Then we'll have a look at when the next webinar will be held, and finally our contact details should you need any help or wish to discuss anything from this webinar. Just some general housekeeping. Our panel members that are online: John Barry, Nathan Smith, Stephen Ryan, and myself, Carly Furlong. And the format will be slides and new feature demonstrations, and then at the end we will provide contact details should you need assistance. We're going to get started straight away with the new features for this month's release, and I'm going to hand over to Stephen Ryan.
Great, thanks Carly. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm going to give a quick demonstration about the new features that will be released today for the PBS Digitised design approval application form. So those of you that are used to using the portal for PBS applications will have seen the forms that we released back in February. So this is the next major iteration of those forms. What we're focusing on for this release is a fully digitised version of the DA application, but just for new applications. So there'll be a number of features in there that you'll see that I'll show in a second in the demonstration that will be able to guide you through that process. There's some validations built into the form. This is an iterative process and we will continue to build out on this functionality, but this will be released from today. You can use this as an alternative to the short form. If you want to go through and try the new application form, we're looking for feedback as well, and we'll be looking to phase out the Part A and Part B Word documents by later in this year, sometime in late November. So I will share my screen and give a demonstration of what the new form looks like. So you'll see on screen here the form, the steps along the top. I've pre-filled this one for the purposes of this demonstration because there is a number of fields to fill in here. It's no more data than you would normally fill in, but rather than doing it in the Part A and Part B forms, you'll now just do it into the portal form directly. One of the key features that you'll need to be aware of and make use of is this full smart form switch. And as it says in here, for the time being, it's optional. So once this goes live today, you don't have to use this form, but if you feel that you want to go through and see how this new process works, you can do that, and we will be looking for feedback. Some of you that will be watching this webinar will have joined us in the last couple of weeks. We did a session where we did a high-level overview and took some feedback from that session. So the features that you saw through that session is what will be released with this release today. So basically this switch turns the form on and off between the current version of the form and the new version of the form that we're going to be releasing today. The new version of the form steps through a lot of the same details in here around the applicant details and the organisation that the applications are for. But then once you get into the configuration and the vehicle details section, there are all the information around specifications, mass dimensions, and bridge tiers and road access networks that you're applying for. There are validations built into this form that will highlight if you've missed a field or where it has to be between a certain range. There are some validations built in, as I've mentioned, around some of the things like the mass limits tables, that depending on the vehicle and the specifications that you have entered, you will see differences in the figures that appear in these tables. So and you can click through to see what part of the regulations have been applied to come up with those mass limits. You can put all the details in here like you can currently in a Part A and a Part B form. There's pieces that we've looked at that we know where people will provide images. So there are functions in here to be able to upload images. One that we know that people do on a regular basis are engine torque curves. So if you need to add an engine torque curve, there is a facility in there to add that directly into the application form, so it doesn't have to be added in as an additional attachment or as part of those forms. There's a lot of functionality in here. It is sort of extending and building on what you have become used to since we went live with this back in February. The other parts that are in here, the design rules, pre-advised specifications and assessment tables that are in either the Part A or the Part B forms are now contained in this digital form. So you can go through and fill those out. And then one of the final pieces I'll just give a quick highlight of is around the review part A. So there is a print button in here that you can bring this, all the information that's loaded up there. So if you do have some need to be able to print that out to share it with somebody else or for some other purpose, you can print that out. We've worked on formatting that so that all the sections of the different parts of the application are split onto separate pages. And the longer term goal is, as more of the process gets digitised and the VA process becomes digitised, the Part B form that would be used in that VA process after going through the DA approval will be a digital form and can be completed by the certifiers. We're not at that stage yet, but that's the sort of direction that we're working in with this application form. We will be available to provide support. Those of you that are already using the portal will be familiar with the intercom icon down the bottom, that you can launch that and you can send messages directly through to us. We have a turnaround time inside like a couple of hours generally to come back to those. So we have an SLA of 24 hours, but generally work much quicker than that. And we can come back and provide support with any questions or feedback that you might have. And so that is the digitised full form that we'll be getting launched today. Thank you, and I will hand over to Nathan.
Thank you, Steve. I'll be speaking to you today regarding what's being delivered related to access and accreditation. So firstly, what's come through will be the addition of some adding alternate configurations related to Awesome and Custom Awesome when you look to add push-pull vehicles on a partial route. Previously, we would send you out an information request and request that information from you. Now you'll be able to provide those details for us via the application itself. And I'll just show that for you. So in this quick example here, we have an Awesome vehicle with a push vehicle on there. And when you go to the travel details and you say you're going on a partial route, this other UI field will display for you, where you'll provide details of the different configurations that you're wanting to have for that route, or those partial routes, and we'll request the information from you from the different lengths and the different tear mass, and that will then flow on to the confirmation screen, those configurations, plus also as well too, we will do the axle mass and spacing changes as well. So as you take off a block truck, those details will come off and it'll display on the confirmation screen, and will also, once the application is processed and approved, your permit will display those details as well, making it a lot easier for when you're traveling, and if you get pulled over at a weigh station, you'll be able to show that information and it'll all be there for you. So that'll save a bit of time and effort with toing and froing from you. You'll be able to put all this information on the application while you're completing it. That's what we have for access. For accreditation, we have a few new enhancements come through as well relating to your maintaining a module. What we've done now is that with your dates, if your dates are all aligned and say you've got 3 modules and you're only wanting to, when you go to maintain, if you're only wanting to say keep 2 and then remove the other one, previously it wouldn't allow you to, you just have to do a maintain and then put through a remove case. For that now we've made it a bit easier by you get to choose your modules, the ones you wish to keep, and the other one, an automated remove case will be created for you. And of course, when it still comes through for processing, we can come back to you and confirm with you if that is still the case, to get that remove case either processed or you can have it removed. So I'll just give a bit of an idea there. So for this particular account, they've got currently their mass and their basic fatigue, and you can select which one you wish to still maintain, and you'll still process your application as per normal, related to just keeping the mass. And then once you've gone to confirmation and submit that application, a remove case will be created for that BFM one that is no longer required. But as we said, the good thing is you can, when it comes through for processing, if it change your mind, when we bring you back, we can get that amended. So that just makes things a bit easier for when doing your maintains. We also have now to keep the latest registered training organisations on the list, that we have the opportunity from our side of things, if they no longer wish to be part of the registered training group, that we can now remove them from it or deactivate them. So it means we always be able to see on our information list on the portal the most up-to-date and active RTOs there for you. And lastly, we have here to help reduce any duplicate applications coming through, especially on updating vehicles. We've put a validation on there now where it will check the registration, the registration details that you've provided when you do your application for an update vehicle. What happens is that it will, as I've mentioned in this example here, there was already a application sent through to update to add this vehicle registration number as stated there, and that's gone through and been submitted. And then somebody else from your group has come through and went to complete another application for the same vehicle, and the same regos on that vehicle. So it's been added here. They go through to confirmation, and then as you go through to submit it, we do those checks. And the good thing is it warns you that that's already been registered there, so it doesn't allow that to happen, which means then you can go in and update or remove that draft if need be, and complete know that one's already been done. So that's another handy one that we've got come through. And so that's it. That's coming through for the access and accreditation enhancements for you, and we'll be looking at to release. Thank you very much, and I'll hand back to Carly.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nathan and Steve. We'll just quickly touch on our roadmap for 2021. As we've mentioned previously in webinars, now via the Information Hub, when you're logged into the portal, you'll be able to access our digital roadmap to see things that we are looking at improving or items that are in progress. So as you'll see on the screen here, we have the items which we are preparing to release. And if you scroll down underneath this section, there's also the items that we have currently in development, so the things that will be coming out in the future. Once these items are released, we do move them across into the release section of the roadmap so that you're always able to see what has been released from our team. When you click into items as well that are in the under consideration or ideas funnel section, you will be able to vote on them. So when you click on them and open them up, it will let you select whether or not something is important to you. I encourage you to use this functionality as it allows us to figure out what is important to users and things that we can prioritize in future work. Details of our next webinar. Our next webinar will be held on the 20th of October. So that will be for our next release. And in terms of help and user support, our help centre is still in place. As was touched on earlier, you can also access direct chat support if you are in the PBS portal. We also have our customer contact number and email, and a Road Manager dedicated hotline and email. Thank you so much for joining us today.